for Taking You Home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate. Oh, I should turn my mic on. Time now for Taking You Home, VoigtJohnson Real Estate, AM 1450, FM 99.3 KNSI. You can hear this program every Thursday morning at 7:23, and again at 7:50 on Saturday morning. Start that home search with VoigtJohnson.com. Brandon's back in studio with us. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Bob.
All right, last time we were talking about pent-up demand, right?
Yes.
Now, does pent-up demand not only apply to home purchasers, but home sellers as well?
Absolutely, because what's happened is there's been a lot of sellers that have been on the sideline because we've talked about they're locked into their 3.5% interest rate,
right,
and it doesn't pay for them to sell, even if they need to, at a higher interest rate. But what's happened here in the last 18 to 24 months is, by necessity, people are going to need to move.
Right.
Families are growing, lifestyle changes, downsizing, upsizing. Luxury purchases are more affordable now with interest rates coming down. Right. So what you're going to see, and what we've seen from the showing activity already here in January 2024, is that demand because has come out of the woodworks here in the last 2 to 3 months.
Interesting, isn't it? Because interest rates up pretty close to 8%. It doesn't take much for them to come down to stimulate that buying thought, right?
You know, I'm coming up in my 21st year in the business, and up until the last 2 or 3 years, interest rates didn't change or fluctuate that significantly over a 12-month span. So if you got a half a point fluctuation up or down within 9 to 12 months, that was a big deal.
Right.
Now we're living in a world where in 2021, interest rates went from 3.5 to 7 virtually overnight in a 2 to 3 month span. That's unprecedented. So what that does is that immediate change shocks the system. Mm-hmm. We had in October and November here, interest rates went from pushing 8, 7 and 7/8
mm-hmm.
down to 6.5 in a 3-week span.
Right.
That is a dramatic shift the other way, and is just starting to have that same impact in a positive way for spurring all that activity that's been on the sidelines back into the market.
Okay, as long as we're talking about that kind of stuff, let's make sure people understand you are not a lender.
Correct.
All right, very good. Now, I wanted to ask you about something else that you talked about last week. You know, home sales, the numbers nationally were down.
Yeah.
But what about property values, and what about prices paid for those homes? I got to think they're still up there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is with the increased interest rates, so a $300,000 mortgage costs the average person about $300 a month more than it did 18 months prior.
Right.
With that being said, property values in 2023 in central Minnesota appreciated 1.5%.
Okay.
So it is not having a detrimental impact on values. However, the number of transactions in the state of Minnesota in 2023 went down 23%. So we lost a quarter of the number of transactions because of what we were just talking about, is people sitting on the sidelines. But now that interest rates have come back down to the mid 6s, you're seeing, and because they've come back down so rapidly, you're seeing people get back into the game. People that were sitting on the sidelines from selling now contemplating selling, and we're really getting it's coming to a head as far as the
new
demand
life
of the activity.
Yeah, that life is coming back for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me this: when people are looking, whether it is, you know, I'm thinking about putting the house on the market, or I really want to go buy a new house, what kind of planning do we need to do? Because are we looking at 30, 60, 90 days? How much time is my house going to be on the market?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because that's really where a lot of our time is being spent with our clients now. And there's a lot of questions. It's more of listening to what your needs. Some people, it's a work situation, and they can telecommute, or they need to be in a different location. There's two aspects: what needs to be done to the home as far as updates and improvements, and then what is your personal timing. And the first question I'd ask is, do you need to sell in order to buy? And the majority of the time that's yes. In a perfect situation, I just spoke with a young couple here yesterday, and we talked about the peak time being to sell your home is the next month to 3 months. but that also is challenging to buy. And they said, well, we can go live with my parents if our home sells. And I said, that's perfect. You can take advantage of selling yours at an optimal time and then have more patience looking and buying. So it really comes down to understanding what each client's situation is and coming up with a strategy.
Okay, I've been around the block a couple of times, a few miles on the odometer. One of the best pieces of advice that I can share with somebody is what people told me. When you can put money away, put as much money away as you can, because you never know when opportunity is going to knock, and all of a sudden, if you've been putting money away and that home that you have had your eye on comes up for sale, boom, you're there.
Yeah, what you're referring to is just being prepared, right?
Yes.
Both financially.
That's part of that planning.
Emotionally, mentally, and being prepared if you have a house to sell. It's the preparation, and especially when you get into multiple offer situations in the springtime market, you see time and time again, the buyers that are succeeding or winning are the ones that are prepared in making the offer, rather than the ones that are just saw it online today and are scrambling and aren't prepared.
Are you saying that we're going to be back with multiple offers in the springtime again?
I am.
You'd be surprised if it didn't happen?
I'm fairly confident that because of the lack of inventory and the demand that we're seeing. Now, not in all. It's a price point issue, right?
Right.
You know, you start getting 500,000-600,000, that might be a little bit different. But when you're in the plus or minus 300,000, clean, solid, desirable neighborhood homes, absolutely, there is a shortage of that type of home.
You know, location. It is so important.
And not only that is, I think Lakeshore, again, supply and demand. More people are looking for the lifestyle, can telecommute. There is a lack. They're not making any more Lakeshore.
I was just going to say that, exactly.
Right.
They're not making any more land, period.
Yep, and you're seeing, as much as ever, people come out of the metro, people come out of the cities. Lakeshore is in just as high a demand as it ever was.
All right. We are out of time for this segment. Did we get to where we needed to be?
I think so.
All right, very good.
So.
The last question, most important. How do we work with you folks at VoigtJohnson Real Estate?
VoigtJohnson.com online. You can check us out. We have a number of great agents you can peruse through, as well as you can call 320-774-2400.
Taking you home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate every Thursday morning at 7:23, Saturday morning at 7:50. Start that home search at VoigtJohnson.com. Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Bob.